Decomposition. So, what's not included in this experiment is clear transparent tape, which I just got a little roll of tape right here. And also a paper towel and some matches and some salt. But you can go and grab all of that stuff. This experiment can get a little bit tricky to do, so let me show you how to do it. First thing you're going to do is you're going to get a 150 milliliter beaker. Well, let's explain. What we're trying to do with this experiment is to observe the decomposition of H2O and sodium chloride, salt, table salt. I want you to become aware of exothermic and endothermic reactions, and also be aware about stepwise reactions and to study some properties of hydrogen and oxygen and how they work. What we're going to need for this experiment is some phenolphthalein paper, and that would be this phenolphthalein test indicator paper. What this does is it turns a color in the presence of a base, and in this case, hopefully, it will turn color. It will turn like a pinkish color. The magnesium sulfate is this one right here. We need some sodium chloride. I can't find my regular salt, so I use kosher salt. It's going to work the same, but it might take a little bit longer to dissolve. And distilled water. Again, you might want to go out at the very beginning of all of your labs and just go buy yourself a big thing of distilled water and then put a big Sharpie marker and say, for chemistry use only, do not drink poison. And then put distilled water on it. So it's not poison, but I mean, at least nobody will drink it. You'll want a 1 milliliter measuring spoon, the small little one. Some test tubes. I think that you're going to want to use these ones right here. Let's see, it says 12 millimeters by 7.5 millimeters, which is basically 7.5 centimeters. Yep, definitely these ones. And you're going to want to use a 150 milliliter beaker, a 9-volt battery, an electrolysis device, a graduated pipette. And let me show you what a pipette. All these things right here are pipettes. Now, this one right here, you might not be able to see in the video, but it has little tick marks on it. And those tick marks is what makes this a graduated pipette. This one you'll be able to see very fine measurements. So I think that if you fill this thing up to the very top up here, that's 1 milliliter of substance. And so it has 4 tick marks. So this is a quarter, a half, a 3/4, and then a full milliliter. So I said a quarter, half, 3/4, and a full. So I'm going to put away the other pipettes because I don't need those. And let's see. We're going to go with this. Now the first thing I'm going to do is, at the beginning of my experiment, is I'm going to clean off this electrolysis device. I've used this before, and I'll show you what happened to it. It got kind of funky looking. You can see it's kind of all rusted out. So, anyway, I'm going to take the sandpaper over here. Just got to sand it off, get all that rust off of it. There we go. There we go. Okay, that's nice. I'm going to fold this over and just kind of, there we go. That's real good. Ow, oops, I poked myself. Okay, keep going. There we go. All right, so now you can see with the sandpaper, it's much clearer. I don't know if you could see that, but anyway, I got all the rust off of it, or at least a lot of it off. And what I'm going to want to do is tape this. So I'm not sure how it came, but I bent it so that way these things go up like this. And then this thing gets bent in this way, like that. And then I'm going to put this on the edge like so. And then I'll wrap this around a little bit more. And we'll find a nice spot for this where I can see everything. This is perfect right here. And I'm going to tape it. Tape right here. So I'm going to tape it so it holds it in place. There we go, right there. Now, I'm going to use my little measuring spoon to get 2 milliliters of magnesium sulfate. That would be this guy right here. Magnesium sulfate. It's like a little salt solution. Into the beaker. All right. So I'm not going to pour this over my 150 milliliter beaker, just because if I get some in there accidentally, then you know, I mean, that throws off the experiment. I'm going to pour it over this small little beaker. There we go. Just, oh, see, I spilled a little bit. Just like baking, you want to kind of get that nice and flat. I'm going to put that in there. Okay, there we go. And then okay, wait 1 second. It got a little stuck, probably because there's a little moisture in there. I'm going to use this little wooden stick to kind of break that up a little bit. Put some more in there. There we go. There we go. Ooh, I spilled some. Now, you don't want to cross-contaminate, but I did clean this thing out with distilled water, and it's dried. So I can just pour that extra back in there. Make sure you cover everything. All right, now what you're going to want to do is add water to make it about 150 milliliters of solution. Now, luckily, we have this on a little graduated beaker, so I can just add this. So I get 125 milliliters of this distilled water. There's an easier way to do this. There we go. Keep going. I'm almost out. Do I have enough? Oh, that's perfect. I have the perfect amount. There we go. I have an empty bottle. Now, I'm going to probably want to use more distilled water, so I have some extra one over here, so I can just pour it in if I needed to. It just happened to get right at that spot where I wanted it to get it. So I'm just going to pour this in here. And that way, if I'm washing off test tubes or doing any of that kind of stuff, I can pour it into my little squirt bottle and we'll be good to go there. Okay, let's put this on the side. All right, now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the graduated pipette and steer it in here. Okay, now avoid knocking this thing around, which I actually kind of did already. All right. This will make the water more conductive, but it won't really enter into the equation as far as the reaction going. Now, use the graduated pipette to fill this thing completely with the solution. Okay. So, where's my test tubes? They were right. You know what? Sometimes it'd be best to keep track of your test. Oh, they're there. Here's another little trick. Take a beaker like this, and you put your test tubes right in there. That way you have some place to hold them. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this thing completely with this solution that we use to mix it up. It's not going to take a whole lot of solution. Just try to get it up as high as possible. There we go. There we go, that's perfect. I'll dump the rest in there. Now, what you're going to want to do is you're going to put your finger over the top of this test tube. Then I want you to turn this upside down without